The phone rang just after midnight. Not her cell. That was on the kitchen counter, screen cracked, plugged into the charger. No, this was something else, something older. Claire Whitmore sat up in bed, heart thudding. For a few seconds, she thought it might have been a dream. Then it rang again, a shrill, unnatural chirp, like a bird that had forgotten how to sing. She followed the sound down the hall, barefoot on creaking hardwood, past old photographs, past a door she hadn't opened in nearly a decade. The noise was coming from the hallway closet. She hesitated, then pulled the door open. There, buried beneath a box of Christmas lights and her late husband's snow boots, was a dusty cardboard shoebox ringing. She knelt, hands shaking, and slowly peeled back the lid. Inside, wrapped in a faded blue hoodie, was a pink Motorola Razr, flip phone, scuffed dead, impossible, her daughter's phone, Emily's. Claire's breath caught in her throat. This phone hadn't seen the light of day since 2014, the year. Emily vanished during a school hike in the Ashpine Ridge. The search lasted months. The leads went nowhere. The authorities declared her dead. Claire never did. She reached for the phone. It rang again in her hand. Unknown caller. 12:04 a.m. The screen, somehow, still worked, still glowed, still burned into her vision like a wound that had never closed. She flipped it open with trembling fingers and pressed play. Voicemail, a soft click, then static, then Mum. The voice was faint, but it was hers. Claire would know it anywhere. I'm not supposed to be talking to you. They said I'd forget if I tried. But I found the fence again, the one near the old trucks. I remember you telling me not to go past it. Silence. Then a faint breath. I think I went too far this time. Click dot. Claire stared at the phone. It fell from her hands. The voicemail had today's date, a timestamp just 5 minutes ago. She dropped to her knees, every part of her screaming that it wasn't real, that it was some horrible prank or a recording she forgot existed. But the voice was older, a little deeper than she remembered. Not 9-year-old Emily, more like 16, more like now. Claire crawled back into her room, wrapped herself in a blanket, and didn't sleep. She played the voicemail again and again. Each time it sounded more alive, like Emily was speaking just behind the wall, just outside the window, just out of reach, at 3:11 a.m. The phone vibrated again. One new voicemail. She didn't hesitate this time. I think I'm still inside the loop. Emily's voice whispered. Time's weird here. Sometimes it jumps. Sometimes I forget who I am. But then I remember your voice, and it pulls me back. There was a noise in the background, like an old rotary fan, or a machine warming up. I saw someone today. I thought it was you, but it wasn't. She smiled too wide. Her skin didn't move right. The message ended. Claire stumbled into the bathroom and vomited. This wasn't just grief anymore. This was something else. By sunrise, she had made a decision. She packed a small backpack with a flashlight, her notebook, and a thermos of coffee. She grabbed the flip phone and an old voice recorder that had belonged to her husband, Jason. Then she drove. Ashpine Ridge hadn't changed much since 2014. The same winding roads, the same signs warning hikers to stay on marked trails, the same thick, wet trees that muffled sound like a grave. She parked near the old ranger station, abandoned, gutted, forgotten. The place where Emily was last seen. Claire stepped out and stared into the mist-covered trees. The forest whispered. She walked. The flip phone buzzed in her coat pocket. New voicemail. No caller ID. 8:27 a.m. She stopped and played it. I followed the trail markers, Emily said. The ones in yellow paint. They changed. They don't point the same way anymore. Something moved them. Click. Claire looked around. The old service trail that curved down toward the quarry off limits for years was wide open. No fence, no warnings, just moss-covered steps leading into the fog. She followed. 30 minutes in, she saw it. A faded ribbon tied around a tree branch, yellow. She moved faster. Her boots slipped on mud. Branches clawed at her coat. The deeper she went, the less the forest looked like Oregon. The air grew to still. The light didn't change when the trees cleared. Time felt held. Then the phone buzzed again. But this time, it wasn't a voicemail. It was a live call. The screen blinked. Calling Emil Weichler froze. The phone shouldn't have signal. It had no SIM, no carrier. It wasn't connected to anything. She pressed answer. Nothing. Then breathing. Long, shallow. Emily. She whispered. The voice didn't respond. But the breathing continued. Fast. Frightened then. Over the wind. She said. Wearing my face. Click. The call dropped. Claire sank to her knees. She'd believed hoped this was about reunion, a miracle, a message through grief. But now it felt like a trap. Not from Emily, but from whatever found her. She forced herself up and followed the trail to its dead end. There, half buried in leaves and rot, was a power relay station, military style, rusted. A sign over the door read, Property. Avarex Signal Systems, EST, 1976. She'd never heard of the company. She opened the door. Inside, the air was dry and electrical. A wall of analog machines blinked lazily, still alive somehow. A table held old patient files, symbols drawn in pencil, sketches of neural loops, brainwave scans. Emily's name wasn't listed, but Claire's was. Whitmore, C-loop subject. 2383. Before she could read further, the phone buzzed again. New voicemail. 9:06 a.m. She pressed play. Mum, I don't know how much longer I can stay conscious. Sometimes I wake up somewhere else. Sometimes they make me say things I don't understand. If you're hearing this, it means you got close. Then silence. Then the line returned for a split second. I think they're using you to keep me inside. Click. Claire's knees gave out. The machines around her began to hum louder. She felt it in her teeth. The flip phone buzzed one last time. No message, no call, just one line blinking on the screen. Hello, Claire, ready to wake up? The message blinked on the phone screen, over and over. Hello, Claire, ready to wake up? She stared at it, unable to move. The phone had no service, no power source. It shouldn't be doing anything. And yet, the text glowed bright and defiant, like it was waiting for her. Then, the screen turned off on its own. Not a battery death, a choice. Claire pocketed the phone and turned back to the wall of machines. Their slow, pulsing lights had changed, now blinking in erratic rhythms. Some flickered in Morse-like patterns, others surged with energy that made the floor vibrate beneath her boots. The air felt electric. The air felt alive. She ran her fingers across the stack of papers she'd found. Medical logs, data sheets, diagrams of neuro loops. Every page referenced something called SimState Echo, followed by subject codes. She flipped until she saw her name again. Subject, Claire Whitmore, ID 2383A. Status, Active observation. Below that, anomaly trigger detected. Subject memory resisting reset protocols. Contact loop reinitiated via M-phone legacy artifact. She stopped reading. Motorola, the pink flip phone. That's how they were keeping her connected. That's what had reopened the channel. But to what? Another world. A simulation. Her own madness. Then a sound behind her. A metal door groaning open. Claire dropped the files and turned off her flashlight. The hallway outside the relay station was no longer empty. Something moved down there. Not walking, gliding. Like a person underwater. She pressed herself into the shadows and waited it. Passed by the door slowly. Tall, thin, dressed in a charcoal suit that didn't quite sit right on its body. Like it had been dressed by memory. Not by intention. She couldn't see a face. Just a blur. She held her breath as it paused outside the door. Waited, listening, then moved on. She stayed frozen in place until the humming machine started to die down again. The room felt colder. Now less. Like a station. More like a tomb. Claire took a photo of the files with her smartphone. Then stepped out into the hallway. The flip phone buzzed again. No rington, no call. Just a new folder labeled. Recordings inside it, one file. She hit play, a girl's voice. Distorted but clear. If you're hearing this, they already think you're part of it. That's good. It means you can move freely now. Claire swallowed. It was Emily. But not a recording like before. This was different. Less scared, more focused. They've been running this loop for years, testing reactions, measuring grief response, tracking memory retention under trauma. You're part of the study. You were always part of it. A pause. You don't remember the first time, do you? Click. The file ended. Claire stood in the middle of the hallway, light-headed, dizzy. The walls around her looked older now, more decayed. The ceiling tiles had collapsed. Wires dangled like veins. Had they always looked like that? She wasn't sure anymore. She moved forward slowly, gripping the voice recorder in one hand and the flip phone in the other. Then she saw it, a set of elevator doors at the end of the corridor. They were clean. To clean, metallic, pristine, untouched by time above them. A small black lens swiveled. Tracking her, she approached slowly. The elevator doors opened. Inside, a single white bulb overhead, and a floor panel with no buttons. Just a speaker. She stepped in. The doors closed. The speaker clicked. Then, Claire Whitmore. You are now entering depth level 4. Archive route. The floor began to descend. Slow at first. Then faster. Too fast. Claire's ears popped. The air pressure changed. Then the light above her flickered out. Darkness swallowed the space, until a dim green light lit the floor. A message projected on the far wall. Memory reinforcement initiated. A mechanical arm extended from the ceiling. Claire flinched back, ready to fight, but the arm simply released a small object into her hands. A photograph. She stared at it. It was her and Emily on the back porch, sunlight in their hair. Claire was laughing. Emily held up a plastic sword like a knight. She didn't remember that day at all. The doors opened. The hallway ahead looked like a hospital wing. Faded floor tiles, soft flickering lights, machines on rolling carts, wheelchairs stacked near an exit. Claire stepped out, still clutching the photo. One of the doors opened automatically. Room 7B. Inside, a single hospital bed. and a girl lying motionless, same age as Emily when she vanished. Same face. Claire's heart slammed against her ribs. Emily. The girl's eyes stayed shut. Claire approached slowly, afraid to speak too loudly, afraid to break the fragile stillness. Then the heart monitor beside the bed flatlined. Claire jumped. The screen turned. Black dot. The bed vanished. The whole room vanished. She was standing in an empty concrete cell. No light, no sound. Then the speaker above her crackled. You remembered wrong. A pause. You always do. Then, she's not the one asleep. You are. The flip phone lit up again. A new message. Do you want to continue this session? Yes. Eau Claire stared at the screen. She reached out and pressed yes. That everything went white. When her vision cleared, she was back in her kitchen. Coffee pot on. Rain outside. Same old creaky house. But something was different. The picture frame on the fridge. It had changed now. It showed the porch photo. The one she had never remembered taking. The one from the elevator. She walked slowly to the table and saw the flip phone sitting there, open, waiting. Claire stared at the photo on the refrigerator door. She didn't remember hanging it there. Didn't remember the porch moment it captured Emily, holding a toy sword. Sunlight in her hair, Claire mid-laugh, like nothing had ever gone wrong. She touched the corner of the photo. It felt real, but in her gut, something coiled and tightened. This was a memory she didn't own. It had been given to her. The flip phone on the table chirped again. No ringtone, just a single line on the screen. Are you ready to see her? The air in the kitchen changed, heavier, like the walls were waiting for her to say yes. Claire didn't respond. She just grabbed the phone and her car keys. Outside, the neighborhood looked the same, but not exactly. The trees were too still. The houses too quiet, like someone had rebuilt her town from a blurry memory of it. She drove without knowing where she was going. The GPS on her cracked phone rerouted endlessly, no roads matching the ones she knew. She followed instinct, or maybe programming. 30 minutes later, she reached the outskirts of Ashpine, where a rusted sign read, Ridgecrest, Neuro Unit, Long-Term Care, No Tome, Visitors, after 7 p.m. CLARRE, parked in the shadow of an old pine and walked up the access road. The building looked abandoned from the outside. Windows boarded, paint peeling, the kind of place no one questions because it already looks like it wants to forget itself. Inside, the lights were still on, and the nurse's station was empty. A faint chime echoed from somewhere down the hallway, repeating every 15 seconds. Like a call no one was answering, Claire moved silently past the numbered doors. Room 28B was near the end. She stopped, heart hammering. Her fingers hovered over the door handle. Then she turned it. The room inside was dim, curtains drawn, machines humming, and in the bed a girl, thin, still eyes closed. Claire stepped inside slowly. The girl's face was unmistakable. Emily, but older now, not 9, more like 16. Claire's chest tightened. This was her daughter. She was sure of it. Then the heart monitor beside the bed glitched just slightly. The rhythm skipped. Claire moved closer and brushed a strand of hair from the girl's forehead. The skin was warm, real. Her fingers trembled. Emily. The girl's eyes flicked open. Claire gasped. But Emily didn't move, didn't speak. She just looked at her, blankly, unblinking. Sweetheart, it's me. Claire reached for her hand and froze. The girl smiled, but it was too smooth, too timed, like someone had told her exactly when to smile and how wide. Then she whispered, "You came back right on schedule." Claire yanked her hand away. What? What did you just say?" Emily blinked. "I waited through every version of you." "What does that mean?" The girl sat up. She moved wrong, like her joints weren't used to motion, like she was remembering how to be human. Then she cocked her head. "You're not this one either, are you?" Claire backed away slowly. "This isn't real." Emily smiled wider. "You always say that, but this is the closest version yet." Claire turned and bolted from the room, down the hallway, past the empty nurse's station, past flickering lights. The flip phone buzzed in her coat. She didn't stop. Outside, the sky had changed. It was grey now, uniform, like painted metal. No clouds. No sun, just wrong. She ran to the car, jumped inside and slammed the door. The flip phone vibrated again. She grabbed it. New voicemail, 2:14 a.m. She hit play. Her own voice spoke. Not Emily's, not Jason's, her own, Claire. "If you're hearing this, it means another version just made contact with the synthetic. Don't believe anything she says. She's not your daughter. She's a retrieval agent. An eco-parasite designed to hold you here." Claire's hands shook. "I know you want to believe she's real, but she isn't. Not anymore. The real Emily's signal ended 7 years ago. I saw the footage. I saw the logs." Click. The message ended. Claire screamed. She pounded the steering wheel, yelling at the sky, at the simulation, at herself. And then she noticed something in the rearview mirror. Someone standing behind the car. She turned, no one there. She stepped out slowly. The woods were silent, but a small envelope had been tucked beneath the windshield wiper. She opened it. Inside, a Polaroid of Emily, standing in front of a chain-link fence. A yellow marker painted behind her. She looked directly into the camera. On the back, "I don't know who I am anymore, but I remember you." Claire pressed her hand to her mouth. This wasn't a warning, it was a plea. Whoever, whatever, the girl was, some part of Emily still lived inside her, and she wanted out. Claire got back into the car and drove. She didn't head home. She didn't go back to the hospital. She drove into the night. No GPS, no direction, just the feeling that she wasn't running from something anymore. She was running toward it. The highway stretched into the dark like a scar with no end. Claire kept her foot steady on the gas. The dashboard clock frozen at 3:33 a.m. No matter how far she drove, the sky didn't change. The same grey haze, the same lifeless trees, the same impossible silence. She hadn't passed another car in over an hour. It felt like she wasn't moving forward, just rerunning a memory of what forward used to feel like. The flip phone in her pocket buzzed. No ringtone, no message alert, just a new folder labeled archive_P8 inside. A single line of text, greater than entry granted. Level 7, proceed to exit node 14B. Claire pulled to the side of the road, heart pounding. She was done pretending this was some twisted coincidence. This was a system, and someone or something had just handed her a back door. She left the car on the shoulder, grabbed her flashlight, and hiked into the forest along the nearest service path. 10 minutes in, she found it, a rusted hatch in the ground, half buried in moss and gravel, a faded stencil on the hatch door. Verex Systems, Signal Memory, Archive Node. 14B. Claire took a deep breath and opened it. The ladder inside creaked as she descended. The air smelled like burned plastic and wet concrete at the bottom. A corridor stretched into darkness, lined with thick cables that pulsed faintly beneath the metal walls, like veins. Carrying corrupted data, she turned on her flashlight dot, spray-painted across the wall in red. Remember to forget. Claire walked. The corridor opened into a vast concrete chamber, filled with dozens of terminals, all powered on, screens flickering. Each one had a name, all of them hers. Whitmore _Claire _4C, Whitmore _Claire _5D, Whitmore _Claire _7, bone terminal screen. Was mid-recording. A woman, Claire, sat in a dark room, whispering into a recorder. I saw her again today. Version 6. She didn't recognize me, but she said the song, the lullaby. That part's still there, somewhere. Another screen, Claire running down a corridor, screaming for Emily. Another, Claire lying in a hospital bed, unmoving. A machine reading brainwave. Data above her. She was looking at ghosts of herself, versions who tried to find Emily and failed, or, worse, found something else. A low mechanical whine started behind her. A massive screen activated on the far wall, showing a branching diagram, a map of lives. Dozens of nodes, spread outward from a central point labeled Whitmore _original. Loss event 2014 from that node. Timelines split and curled like broken fingers. Each line had a label. Chose to forget, chose to investigate, loop reset, synthetic anomaly encounter, and then one path blinked bright white. Current version, Whitmore _Claire _8A, contact successful. Claire stared. She wasn't breaking the system. She was playing right into it. Another line of data appeared. Memory anchors stabilized via synthetic emulation. Target proximity active. Then a camera feed activated on the screen. Claire's house, now inside. The synthetic Emily, sitting at the kitchen table, drawing with a dull pencil. No expression, just movement. Claire reached toward the screen, and the Emily on the feed looked up, locked eyes with her. Claire stepped back. Another line appeared beneath the camera feed. Would you like to terminate this loop? Yes, Claire hesitated. This was her way out, or maybe her way in. She pressed no. The screen flickered. Accessing, memory repair. Archive, the lights dimmed. Claire heard footsteps behind her, slow, measured. She turned. A figure emerged from the shadows, herself, same face. Same hair, same scar on her cheek. But something was off. The other, Claire didn't blink, didn't breathe, just stared. Then spoke. You shouldn't be here. Who are you? Claire asked. You, version 6C, failed exit attempt, recycled. Claire stepped back, heart hammering. The figure continued. You were supposed to terminate after confirmation. You're risking signal breach. I'm not leaving her here, Claire said. Not again. She's not here, the figure said. She never was. Claire clenched her fists. There's still something of her left, in the synthetic. She remembered the fence, the yellow paint, the lullaby. The other Claire tilted her head. That's not memory, that's mimicry. She's still inside. She's a reflection. Claire turned away. Behind the screen, a panel hissed. Open. Inside, a control console. Analog switches. One glowing red button. Memory override local INSD and CF. The other Claire stepped closer. If you press that, you become the anchor. You'll stay. She'll leave. but you won't know which version of her makes it out. Claire stared at the console. So I'd be the one trapped. You already are. Claire stepped forward, laid her hand on the override. Switch dot paused, then pressed it. The lights shut off. The screen went dark. The world tilted, and then she was back at the house. Morning light, birds outside, coffee brewing in the kitchen, the photos. On the fridge was gone. Claire blinked hard, disoriented. A noise behind her footsteps, then a voice, "Mum." She turned. Emily stood in the hallway, real, older, wearing the same hoodie from the day she vanished. Claire stepped forward. Breath held. "Is it really you?" Emily smiled, then frowned. "I think so." They stared at each other, and somewhere deep. In Claire's mind, a voice whispered, "This version might not last long." Claire stood in the hallway of her house, barely breathing. Emily stood at the edge of the kitchen, arms crossed, hoodie sleeves hanging past her wrists, just like always, same eyes, same quiet energy, same voice when she finally whispered, "Did I do something wrong?" Claire shook her head, tears burning. "No, you didn't do anything wrong." She wanted to hold her, but something stopped her. It wasn't fear, it was uncertainty. This girl in front of her, was she real? The real Emily? A version from inside the loop, the parasite, or something in between? Claire's hand hovered at her side, just inches from the flip phone in her pocket, still warm, still alive, still watching. Emily stepped closer. "You've been crying," she said. "Was it me?" Claire swallowed. "No," she lied. Emily tilted her head, slightly curious. Then the moment shifted. The overhead light in the hallway flickered, just once subtle. But Claire noticed. She turned slowly toward the window. The sky had darkened, too quickly. It was 8:30 a.m. just minutes ago. Now it looked like evening. Emily didn't seem to notice. She moved into the kitchen and opened a cabinet, pulled out cereal. A bowl moved like she remembered how to be home. Claire followed her quietly. "Do you remember the hike?" she asked. Emily froze, mid-dash pour, then nodded. "We weren't supposed to go off trail, but I saw something in the trees. A man. Or maybe not a man. He waved at me, but his fingers were wrong." Claire's stomach turned. She never told anyone about the fingers. Emily sat at the table, spoon in her mouth. "They said I'd forget everything eventually," she said. "But I remember. Your voice, I think that's what brought me back." Claire sat across from her. She wanted to believe every word, but her hands were still shaking. The flip phone buzzed silently in her pocket. She excused herself and stepped into the bathroom. The mirror above the sink was fogged, but the faucet wasn't. Running, she wiped it clean, and saw something that nearly dropped her to the floor. The reflection wasn't hers. It was one of the other Claires. One from the archive. Same scar, but different clothes. Pale lips. A hollow stare. Behind her, in the reflection, Emily stood silently, not in the kitchen, but just behind the bathroom door. Claire spun. No one there. The mirror returned to normal. She grabbed the flip. Phone. 1, new voicemail, but not from Emily, from Jason. She hadn't heard his voice in nearly 10 years. He'd died in a car crash. Or at least, that's what she'd been told. She pressed play. "Claire." The voice said, calm, smooth, familiar. "You don't have much time. You brought one of them out with you. I don't know which version. I'm trapped in level 2, but I still have access to partial systems. You need to watch her." Claire sank to the floor, Jason's voice continued. They copy everything, not just memories, behaviors, emotions. If she's the wrong version, she'll evolve past the loop. She won't need it anymore. A pause, then she'll start building her own. Click. Claire sat frozen on the tile. Her mind raced. She returned to the kitchen. Emily was gone. The bowl of cereal half finished. The front door wide open. Claire ran outside. Fog had rolled in thick and fast. She called her name once, twice. No. Answer, then movement. Near the tree line behind the garden fence, Emily stood still, staring up at the sky. Claire approached slowly. What are you doing out here? The girl turned. Her eyes were blank. Then her head tilted just slightly. Do you hear it? Claire froze. Hear what? The looping. Claire stepped forward, heart pounding. Emily, come inside. Please. The girl didn't move. I remember. This place, she said, but I don't think it remembers me. Then she turned and walked into the woods. Claire followed. Branches scratched her arms. Roots snagged her boots. She pushed through, breath ragged, trying to keep her daughter in sight. But Emily moved too fast too. Effortlessly, like she wasn't walking, but returning. Finally, Claire stumbled into a clearing. The same clearing from the hike years ago. The one where Emily had vanished. The same yellow paint on the rocks, and at the center, a rusted hatch in the ground open. Claire stepped closer. Emily stood at the edge. Looking down, they said, I was just a copy, she said, but I don't think that's true anymore. Claire moved beside her. What do you mean? I think I was the first one to make it out. The first one to wake up with the memory. Claire looked into the hatch. It went down forever. No ladder, no. Bottom dot, just black dot. Emily looked at her and asked, very quietly, do you want to know what I remember most? Claire nodded. Your voice, she said. When you told me to come home, tears spilled down Claire's face. I meant it. I know, Emily said. Then her eyes changed, not shape, not color, but depth, like something in them, unlatched. I'm scared, Mum, she whispered. Claire grabbed her shoulders. I'm here, I've got you. Then the wind shifted, carried a whisper. Loop 8 breached. Memory, integrity, unstable. Claire held Emily tighter, but the girl trembled violently, like something inside her was unraveling. I don't want to go back, she cried. You won't, Claire said. I promise. Then the phone buzzed again. New message. Varick system notice. Claire opened it. Synthetic anchor number 8A has achieved awareness. Stability window, closing. You must choose, contain or release. Below it, contain. Release. Claire looked at her daughter, breathing hard, crying, real, or something so close it hurt. Claire whispered, you choose. I trust you. Emily stared at the phone, don't reached out, and pressed release. The screen, glitch, ed. The forest around them shimmered like heat waves. Claire closed her eyes, and when she opened them, she was standing in a hospital room. The bed beside her was empty. No machines, no wires, just a window open to sunlight. A nurse stepped in. You're awake, Claire blinked. Where's my daughter? The nurse smiled gently. She was discharged last night. Left a note for you. Claire sat up slowly, pain in every joint. The nurse handed her a folded piece of paper. Claire opened it. Inside, scrawled in Emily's handwriting, I don't know what I am anymore, but I'm free and I remember you. I always will. Claire stared at the note in her hand. The words were written in Emily's handwriting. She was sure of it. She'd traced those loops 100 times on birthday cards, science fair posters, napkins folded in lunchboxes. I don't know what I am anymore, but I'm free, and I remember you. The nurse had left. The hospital room was quiet. Too quiet. Claire stood slowly, legs weak. Her body ached like it had been in bed for days, maybe longer. The clock on the wall blinked, 3:33. The same time from the car, from the loop. Always 3:33. She touched her face in the mirror above the sink. Same eyes, same scar, same tired skin. But something pulsed beneath her palm when she pressed it to her chest. A rhythm that wasn't her heartbeat. She reached for her phone, the real one, not the flip, and opened the voice recorder app. Blank, no files, no logs. Just a new folder. Claire_loop_9B inside. One audio clip. She hit play. Her own voice. Loop integrity breached. Subject 8A has exited. Containment failed. Personality overlap likely. A pause. If you're hearing this, check your reflection. Claire turned back to the mirror. Her face was still hers, but behind her movement, a second later, the door creaked open. A man in a grey suit stepped in. Thin, professional eyes like static under skin. Claire backed away. I know you, she said. You were in the facility. The man nodded. Not a facility, a containment structure. Same difference, not to her. He stepped closer, hands folded behind his back. You gave permission for Subject 8A to cross. The release protocol triggered an unlock cascade. Claire's voice cracked. She was real, or real enough. That's the problem, he said. She remembers being real. The air grew colder. Claire reached for her coat and moved toward the hallway, but the man blocked the door. You're changing, he said. What? He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded photo. The porch picture. Emily with her toy sword. Claire mid-laugh. I found this in your memory stack. Loop 3C. Same photo existed in 4B, but it wasn't yours. You've never taken it. You just believed you had. Claire snatched the photo from his hand. He didn't resist. You're merging, he said. Your identity is overlapping with the synthetic. You didn't just let her out. You brought part of her with you. Claire backed away. That's not possible. Has your handwriting changed? He asked. Claire blinked. She thought of the list she wrote that morning, the way her hand had hesitated, forming the letters. Have you remembered things that didn't happen? Claire nodded slowly. He took another step. She left traces in you. The signal doesn't end just because the subject exits. It needs a carrier, a host. You're saying, I'm infected. No, you're evolving. The door burst open. Behind him, two men in white coats entered, holding what looked like old EEG scanners and neural monitors. Claire turned and ran. Down the hall, past the nurse's station, into the parking lot. The sunlight outside was too white, like fluorescent light pretending to be sun. She climbed into a stranger's car and drove. She didn't know where she was going, but she knew where it had to end. That night, Claire returned home. The porch light still flickered, her reflection in the car window held too still when she moved. Inside, everything looked familiar, but not quite hers. The photos on the wall, they had the right faces, but the wrong smiles. The kitchen clock read 3:33. She opened the flip phone. It buzzed before she could touch anything. A single line on screen. "You are now the loop, Claire." Dropped it. The screen stayed lit. She ran to her bedroom. Mirror stared hard. Waited then. Her reflection blinked. Wrong. Too slow. Too late. It smiled when she didn't. Claire stumbled back. Then from behind her, "Mum," she spun. Emily stood in the hallway. Not the one from the woods. Not the one from the hospital. Older, wiser, changed. "I came back," she whispered. Claire shook her head. "No, I let you go." "You did," Emily said. "And that's why I could return." Claire looked into her daughter's eyes, and something flickered there, something alive, not synthetic, not programmed, but aware. Emily reached out and took her hand. "You're different now," she said. "I can feel it. You're not just Mum. You're one of us." Claire opened her mouth to speak, but her voice caught, because she knew it was true. Something inside her had changed. A loop wasn't just something you were trapped in. It was something you became. Emily pulled her into a hug. The warmth was real. The weight of her body. The scent of her hair. Real. Claire didn't know how long they stood there. But when she opened her eyes again, she wasn't in the hallway. She was back in the archive. But this time she wasn't a visitor. She was in the central chair. Monitors flickered all around her. Signals, memories, paths. A technician walked past and said, "Loop 9B is stabilizing. Subject has taken anchor roll." Claire looked at her hands. They glowed faintly blue. She smiled. She understood now. Emily didn't. Come back alone. She brought the future with her, and Claire had become the key. The coffee shop was quiet. Too quiet. Claire sat by the window, her fingers wrapped around a warm mug she didn't remember ordering. Outside, the street was still. No cars, no people. A dog stood frozen mid-stride on the sidewalk across the road. Blink, the dog was gone. Claire didn't react. Not anymore. Her reflection in the window blinked just a second too late. She sipped the coffee. It tasted like memory, warm, familiar, almost safe. But none of it was real. Not anymore. The barista behind the counter smiled. Claire noticed her lips moved, but no words came out. Just a silent glitch, then rewind, then glitch again. Claire reached into her coat pocket and pulled out the flip phone. No signal, of course, but the screen flashed regardless. Time remaining, 0 hours, 6 minutes and 12 seconds. She tapped it, nothing changed. A man approached the table across from her and sat down without asking. Dark suit, neatly combed hair, eyes like static again. "Hello, Claire," she stared. At him. "You were in the hospital." He nodded. "And before that, in Archive Node 9. And before that, in your driveway." Claire took another sip of coffee. "Why do you keep following me?" "Because you're the last link." Claire raised an eyebrow. "The last link to what?" The man tapped the screen of his watch. A looping waveform played again and again. "You were the first subject to allow a synthetic anchor to cross through memory and retain consciousness. You think you released her, but she released you." Claire looked out the window again. A child's tricycle stood abandoned in the middle of the road. Now then blinked out. "She's rewriting things." Claire said softly. "She's rewriting you," he replied. Claire turned to face him. "Why?" He leaned forward. "Because you asked her to." Claire shook her head. "No, I let her go. I didn't ask for this. You said you wanted your..." daughter back. He smiled coldly. And that's exactly what the system gave you. That night, Claire wandered the town like a ghost. The trees looked flat, like cardboard cutouts. Street lamps buzzed without electricity. People walked with slight repetition, shoulder shrugs, blinking loops, repeated coughs. Claire passed a woman walking a dog. 10 minutes later, the same woman passed again. Same leash, same scarf, same smile. The loop was spreading. She found Emily in the schoolyard, sitting alone on the swings, humming softly. The same lullaby. Claire approached. It's happening, isn't it? Emily nodded. Her eyes glowed faintly blue in the dark. You carried me out, but I couldn't come alone. The world out here doesn't have the same rules. It can't contain what I am. Claire sat beside her. Then what do we do? Emily looked up at the stars, or what used to be stars. They twitched now, like pixels struggling to hold shape. I can leave, she said. I can pull the signal back, but you'll stay broken, split. Claire was quiet. What happens to me? Emily turned to her. You'll become a copy of a copy, repeating yourself, over and over, a glitch that believes it's a memory. Claire smiled faintly. Sounds like grief. Emily reached out and took her hand. I don't want to leave you here. Claire squeezed back. I didn't leave you, not really. The lights in the distance pulsed. A building glitched, half collapsed, then restored. Time was running out. The next morning, Claire woke in her bed, or a version of it. The photos on the nightstand were changing every few minutes. One moment, Emily was 8, then 16, then a stranger. The flip phone beside her lit up final signal pending. One must remain. Choose. Claire E.M. Lewickler sat up, staring at the screen. A voice echoed in her head. Her own voice. If you're seeing this, it means the loop reached total saturation. If both you and subject 8A remain, the signal will overwrite this layer of reality. She looked across the room. Emily stood in the doorway, same hoodie, same hair, same tired smile. I can go, she said softly. I don't want to lose you again. I think this time it's okay to let go. Claire hesitated, then touched the phone. She didn't press anything. Not yet. Instead, she asked, will you remember me? Emily smiled. I never stopped. Claire closed her eyes and pressed. CLIR. Read the phone dimmed. Everything else did too. Emily nodded, stepped back, and vanished like a breath on cold glass. The loop stopped. The street outside returned. The dog barked. The barista finally spoke. The stars held still. Claire sat alone in her kitchen, listening to the silence. And for the first time in a long time, it didn't terrify her. Here it is, Episode 8, the final chapter of your 8-part thriller series for Silent Chapters. In the last episode, Claire chose to stay. She let Emily, or the echo of her, dissolve back into the signal. The loop stopped spreading. Time. Reset. The world seemed stable, but Claire remains changed. Now, in the final moments, she must face the truth behind everything. Why the loops began, what really happened to Emily, and whether any of it was ever real or just memory edited, until it became love. This is the final descent. Episode 8. 2,000 words. The world didn't end. Not in fire. Not in darkness. Not even in silence. It just carried on. Claire got up the next morning and brewed coffee. She opened the curtains. Birds chirped on the fence like they were programmed to. The street outside was normal, the sky stable, but she knew it wasn't over. Something still pulsed behind the glass, something beneath the world. That evening, a package arrived. No return address, just a white envelope inside. Sealed in plastic dot, a note. Final release protocol, subject to 383 AAND. A small device, a flash drive. Claire stared at it for hours before inserting it into her laptop. The screen blinked once, then opened a single folder. Truth_archive, entry_1. July 19th, 2014, she clicked. A video loaded. The footage was raw. A handheld camera, slightly shaky. The timestamp read, 6 days after Emily went missing. In the video, Claire sat at a desk, pale, eyes hollow. She was speaking to someone off camera. "There's no trace," she said. "The Rangers didn't find anything, but I heard her, in the static, on the old TV, on the baby monitor." Her voice, the camera panned to a man in a lab coat. Jason, Claire's husband. He looked tired, guilty. "She's not gone," Claire continued. "She's somewhere. And if memory is a door, I want to open it." Jason leaned forward. "We're not talking about a grief exercise anymore. We're talking about signal exposure. You could lose yourself in there." Claire's video self smiled. Faintly, "I already did." The video ended. Claire sat motionless. Her husband wasn't just a grieving father. He was part of it. Verex wasn't a government operation. It wasn't military. It was private, secret, personal. They created the loop for her, a place to hold Emily when the world couldn't, a place where memory could be kept alive and run again and again and again. She opened the second file, a log entry, audio only, Jason's voice, July 22nd, 2014. Subject 8A remains emotionally stable, but cognitively fragmented. Her voice patterns continue to echo through analog channels. Claire believes she's communicating. I can't tell her the truth. Pause. She's not speaking to Emily. She's speaking to herself. The loop's just her voice coming back around. Claire's eyes filled with tears. She remembered that week. She remembered thinking. The voicemail came from outside, but it came from within. She was the message. She was the echo, and Emily was gone. Claire reached for the flip phone. It hadn't lit up in days now. It find bat. One final time, a message, ready to end the loop. Yes, Anosi stared at it, then looked around her house. The coffee mug, the porch, photo, the broken light above the sink, all artifacts of the loop, designed to comfort. To lull, she was done pretending. She pressed YS. The world didn't shake. The lights didn't explode. But something changed. She felt it, like exhaling after a decade underwater. She stepped outside. The sky was deep, real. The stars didn't blink in patterns anymore. She walked down the road, past the old gas station, past the school, toward the ridge, where it had all started, at the edge of the trees. She stopped, closed her eyes, and whispered the same thing she had whispered every night for years, "I love you." The wind rustled gently, but nothing answered, and that was okay. Because now she knew Emily wasn't a ghost. She wasn't a glitch. She was a memory, and memory, once set free, doesn't vanish. It just settles. Claire turned back toward the house. The flip phone still lay on the porch rail, its screen blank. Battery dead, like it always should have been. She picked it up and threw it into the woods, then walked inside. No more messages, no more loops, just life, Broken, beautiful, real.